Good afternoon. Port of Johnstown Management Committee meeting. I call this meeting to order at 6:32. We have Councillor Ward sends his regrets and Councillor Joe Martell sends his regrets. Both are under the weather, I do believe. Hopefully they get better for Santa. I need a move and a second to approve of the agenda as presented. Moved by Mr. Smell, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Or sorry, seconded by the mayor. Called you. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Is there any? Number 4, sorry, delegations and presentations. There's none. We're moving on to number 5, the minutes of the previous Port of Johnstown Committee meeting on October 21st, 2024. I need a mover. So moved by the mayor, seconded by Mr. Smell. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Number 6, business arising from the previous Port Management Committee meeting. Is there any? Okay, number 7, I like this. We're moving along good. Number 7, discussion items. Okay, no discussion items. Number 8, action information items. 8A, grain report. Mr. Daly or Mr. Moulton?
I'll do that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Hit the mic, please.
Green to go. Good to go. What's going on? The grain operations report for October 2024. The grain inventory ended at 128,678 metric tons, which is kind of in line with what we've done past years. High yields and good drying conditions have been favorable for harvest. The pressure for soybean intake was very high the entire month. A good vessel lineup has allowed us to maximize appointments without space limitations. The new corn dryer came online and was commissioned. The traffic for October, we received 124,431 metric tons of grain. And I know that's just a number, but you think it is 3,000 trucks that we brought into the port in the month. So when people say I can't get appointments to get into the port, there's appointments there. We shipped 2,471 metric tons via truck. We shipped 84,200 metric tons on vessels, and we shipped none on rail. Vessels at berth for October, we had the CSL Bay St. Paul, McKeel Harvest Spirit, a Shipka, and another CSL Laurentian. No recordables last month. Our labor report, 4,435 compared to 4,214 previous year, which is about 10%, but we had a 25% increase in throughput the month. So that's very good. And our quality was an A. And that is the operations report.
Any questions, comments around the table? Questions, comments around the table. Go ahead, Mr. Smell. You're on.
Thank you, Chair. So Mike, just out of curiosity, you get A's all the time. What happens if you get a B or a C?
So B's and C's are good, but if it gets below that, you have to get, they'll give you a list of things that you need to take care of, and then they come back and re-inspect. If you get an F 2 times in a row, you go on notice and you have trouble shipping that. So it's very important that we stay on top of our hygiene.
Okay, thank you very much for the information.
Question, comments? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Cameron. Mr. Cameron.
I pushed it. That time it worked. With regards to the Port of Montreal, the interruption down there, have you seen any impact or has there been any noticeable impact on the Port of Johnstown?
That really hasn't affected us any. Most of the transfers we do go to the brokers who have their own terminals.
Right.
So it's not so much to the port.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I may, just a follow-up question with regards to the corn dryer coming online. how's it been going so far and what sort of volume have you been actually drying?
We've dried about 3,800 tons so far. We've got another 1,100 tons loaded to start drying right now.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest, the drying conditions are very positive this year, so
Yeah.
there's not a lot of wet corn.
It's not stressing it.
But the farmers with the soybean yields are afraid to ask for corn appointments because they're trying to put so much soybean through.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have.
We honestly, we do 140 trucks a day and we have requests for 270.
I believe it. Thank you.
Questions? Any more? Mr. Mayor, no? Okay, I just had a couple, but, so is everything working all right at the dryer right now? I just kind of like to confirm that.
It's
No,
actually-
no glitches?
It's working very well for, a new project that goes in, you always have problems, but it's, we work through a few things, just minor things, and it's drying very well.
Glad to hear that. Next is the maintenance report, 8B. Mr. Moulton?
I'll do that one as well, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Does you need me to read through this or do you just, anybody have any questions about it?
No, I'd like you if you could go through it. Just
Certainly.
touch on a few
Sure.
things. Thanks.
So maintenance, for the month, we conducted monthly premise inspection. We conducted, monthly premise inspections as per the GMP requirements. Winter prep on all, Bobcats and telehandler. Empty bin maintenance on annex bin number 7. Whenever we empty a bin of corn, we go in and we do maintenance on the sweep and stuff. Clean ship loader automatic valves, replace a broken tie rod in number 3 scale. Install new shaft bearings and sprocket in annex bin number 9, day paddle sweep. Adjust track on number 3 conveyor. Start fabricating conveyor tail pulley guards per the federal safety inspectors. Begin installing appropriate signage along conveyors that indicate equipment may start at any time. Again, this is part of that same inspection. GMP maintenance of available annex equipment. Items from the work order log, weekly and monthly dust system inspections. Electrical, worked with millwrights, GMP maintenance. Assist contractors with startup and troubleshooting of new grain dryer. Grain handling equipment checks and maintenance during vessel loading. Burner maintenance on the original GSI grain dryer. Clean slewing gears of ship loaders and items from work order log. And that is the maintenance report.
Questions, comments from the committee? Mr. McCauley, go ahead, please.
Thank you. There. Will the federal safety inspectors do a follow-up at some point in time to ensure that we've complied with their recommendations?
Yes, that's the expectation. They do not set a date or anything like that. It's a matter of we've provided them with the schedule, the dates, they've agreed to them. And so now, whenever they do follow up, they'll check against that schedule to see if we've met those dates and we indeed did what we said we were going to do.
Mike, the failure on the day paddle sweep, is that like was it lack of lubrication? It seems like run to failure. We don't typically do that, right? Tell me we don't do that. Don't run to failure.
Well, no, it's just that was the big 15,000 ton bin on the end, our big annex bin.
Mhm.
And we'd had corn in there for a couple of years and the sweep just, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, that it was installed properly.
Okay.
And at the time we got all the corn out of it, we didn't use it.
We do lubrication, obviously, we go around.
Of
Okay. Yeah, okay.
course, I mean, that's part of those. things. You can
Fundamental.
See the maintenance annex bin 7, as soon as they go empty.
Yep.
They go in and do
Okay.
complete maintenance on the sweeps.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to capital projects, 8C. Mr. Dowling, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Well, there has not been any real updates to speak to since the last meeting. There were questions regarding the update on the receiving project, which Mr. Saunders put together a spreadsheet on the preceding page, page 10 of 63. And so if we have any questions regarding the actual capital projects, I can entertain those questions now, and if not, I can go through the update on the receiving project.
Thank you. Any questions, comments on the capital budget? Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. So the paving and the first parts, the 300,000, there's a carryover of the 120 to finish up in the track shed when it's done. Is that
That's correct.
okay? And is it like we have a quoted price that is there? Like we're gonna get that work done for the 120?
That I would have to go back and look into, Mr. Mayor. We probably will have to requote that in the new year. We'll have to see if the quote is still valid. It's normally 60 days, and because it was delayed due to the harvest, we'd have to go back and take a look at that.
Okay. It's kind of the same question for the Marina waterfront as well. For the 245, 126, there's about 115 left in that budget. There's lots of budget left to get that work done in 2025.
Yeah, that's correct. What we're looking at there is to part of the strategic plan. What exactly do we want to do out on the boardwalk and the area out there? We haven't really done very much in the last 4 or 5 years, or since we even put the walkway in. It's in need of some repairs. So we're looking at earmarking that money that was left over from the Marina project into that walkway that goes out to the boardwalk.
Okay. I'll skip the track shed because we're going to discuss it by itself, I think. The grain dryer, has 650 left or something like that. I noticed there's a check hold back and stuff in the disbursements. Is it ultimately going to be on budget?
And the latest figures that I received today was we should be $80,000 under budget on that project in total.
Great. And I think that was it for me.
Any other questions, comments?
So I'll continue with the update on the receiving area, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so this project began in the original estimation was in January 2023, and then we had several revisions. The last being at an action item that we had in 2024 earlier in May 22nd, and that latest was the update was 3,051,392. At this point, we're looking at, happy to say that we won't be over budget by that amount. And we're looking at 2,768,000 for the total to complete the project. That would be in total 2.2 million this year, which most of that has already been expenditured, and finishing off in 2025 with 559,000.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, here we are back on the track shed.
Yeah.
Comments?
Yeah, just so for the mechanical, the miscellaneous, the concrete repair and the engineering, we have firm quotes. Those are the numbers.
I believe so. That's my understanding at this point.
So we're going to end under 2.8 then for sure.
That's the current estimate, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I have one on the track shed. where is it as of today, as far as completion?
As of today, we have the cladding 95% completed on the sides. The roof has almost completed. And they still have the cladding left to do next to the building. We're looking at that all to be done. The cladding and the roof should be done this week. And then we have the conveyor installment going in on the week of the 25th next week. So that's the schedule as of right now. We're still pushing this to be done by the end of the year.
Good. Question 2 on that. Is it interfering with the trucks at all? The construction, or will it be now that we're getting
It-
out of
it
beans
definitely-
and in the corn?
Well, it definitely has had an effect. So we will, where we're doing the project is where we load grains out. So unfortunately, when all this soybeans coming in, I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's part of the business. We have wheat that has to trickle out and so on. And we have to use our equipment that normally we'd be bringing soybean in and so on to ship out. We've been lucky to have the annex for part of that time using that extra pit. We also have product having to go through the annex as well at the same time. So when we're at peak at the port, we should be able to get up to 170 trucks a day. And we're maxed out at 130 to 140. So yes, it has had an effect. That's for sure. Now, what overall in the big picture does that effect have? We're still having the grain come in and out. You can look at it that, okay, so if you can process more during that same time, a lot of the times you'll just fill up quicker. And this is what ends up happening. So then it becomes a matter of what storage do you have available? And okay, so you fill it quicker. And normally what we'll do in that situation is we trickle down our appointments so that we can stay open and keep the business flowing. So it's more than just the pits available and so on. It's how quickly the product's coming off the fields and how quickly we have to get it through the elevator. There's a lot of factors.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Any? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the financial report, Rhonda. Thank you.
Thank you. So our revenue for the month of October was 1.6 million. It's a decrease of 625,000 from 2023 and a decrease to budget by 646,000. Expenses were kept on par with budget, resulting in a surplus of 1.056 million for the month. The port has started the fourth quarter in a good position to have a great 2024 with a year-to-date surplus of 2.865 million, which is an increase to budget by 125,000. As of October 31st, the port has transferred 833,333 towards the annual payment of $1 million to the township. Our receivables are in good shape. Everything outstanding is within 30 days and under. Our receivables are at 1,415,196. Payables are at 349,811, and our cash on hand is at 5,021,633. I did a table on the next page for the breakdown of the revenue and expenses to help explain a little better the differences and why there's the differences. So if you have any questions on that.
Questions? Mr. McCauley, go ahead.
First of all, thanks for the schedule. I think that's very helpful. I think if you could do that on a monthly basis, that would be very useful for us. Secondly, just a question with respect to the sale of the grain. So the shift from October to November, the gap relative to plan and last year in the October numbers, when we sell that grain in November, that should then show up as being positive to budget into last year in November's numbers then?
Yeah, it's just the difference of the month.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
I had the same one that Frank did, but just to take it one step further, we sold it in October last year. Like, we didn't do that this year. Just curious what the reasoning
Good question, Mr. Mayor. The request came in, we had a vessel coming in from one of our brokers. They were a little short and it worked out that it was right at the beginning of November rather than the end of October from the previous year. So that happens with our financials, same with salt. It can go from one month to the other. I've always kind of pushed for quarterly reports instead of monthly because it's all there. But just to give you an idea of the difference is right now, year to date, it's 1.3 million that we sold more last year than this year. So that's quite an impact, and you can see our results. We're very close. So we're going to have very good results. Now, we're not going to be selling, the number won't be as high due to the commodity lowering in pricing per metric ton. So it's way down. But we'll still see a big impact in November that will affect our overall. So at the next meeting or the next, financial numbers, you'll see quite a difference, and we'll still be ahead of budget, and we'll most likely be ahead of last year. You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you. Moving on to 8E. That's a vessel traffic report. Mr. Moulton or Mr. Dowling?
Yeah, I think I'll tackle this one.
Thank you.
So basically for the current year, we're ahead of where we were last year. We're at 623,000 versus 607. We can see that we're a little behind in our salt, but we're ahead so far in our grain. For the year, we've got 41 vessels so far compared to 37 last year. And salt vessel in November and 7 soybeans vessels lined up for November, 4 of which we've already completed. So it's a busy month again in November.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Just one.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly a busy number, and excuse my ignorance for this, but one foreign salt inward vessel carried 296,000. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah, the salt is foreign, but the vessels that they came in on were domestic. So the top part is talking about the actual commodity that's on the boat. And then the second part, the ships, in that 18
numbers
for
don't-
domestic is the foreign cargo.
Okay, so
they were-
those numbers don't relate then. I was just trying to do the math and I'm
No,
like, that
because-
math is
no.
pretty outrageous.
No, because one is the product and the other is the actual ship the product comes in on.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, let's go to 8F, health and safety, please.
I'll do that one, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Report from John from Prevention and Regulatory Solutions for the month. He attended a site meeting with management to discuss remaining activities for 2024. Sent some online training information to the incoming GM. We completed and updated our confined space entry for the different types of confined space that we do, and prepared a short and longer term training plans for new casual employees and new electrician, and discussed options with the operations and maintenance managers. And that's John's report.
Questions, comments? Health and safety report? Go ahead, Mr. Smell.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mike, your confined space, do you do that right at the ports, or do you go to Brockville and train for that?
No, we have them come to the port so
They
we
have-
can
Okay,
do it in our equipment in our.
okay, great. That's,
yeah.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor, you're on a roll.
Yep. I think you did. Brockville has the training facility at their fire hall for the confined space entry. Do we ever have requests to accommodate confined training at the port?
Not this come to my attention.
Would it be something that we could facilitate should the wish arise?
I mean, certainly in off-season. Yeah, we would be happy to, honestly. As long as they sweep when they come.
Good one. Any other questions, comments? Let's move on to 8G, the GM's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For November 18th, prepared lease for Master Feed. We prepared a lease for Master Feeds and forwarded that to the incoming GM. That will be brought forward at a future meeting. Met with EV Engineering on October 24th. This was the second meeting in preparation for drainage plan for the property at 2822 County Road 2. Once this is completed, a budget will be developed to include land development plan. Grain broker, we had our weekly meeting, introduced the incoming GM and discussed quantities and future vessel scheduling. On Logistec on October 25th, we both met with the general manager of sales to discuss the current processing of providing quotes. Monthly meeting was moved up to November 7th, and we discussed remaining salt vessels, potential steel shipment for December. Organize a meet and greet with representatives for our insurance broker, BFL, and discuss the port's current insurance premiums and potential opportunities to reduce. On the pay equity plan, not to be confused with the recent analysis completed at the township, the Pay Equity Act in Canada aims to achieve pay equity for employees in jobs that are commonly held by women. The central feature of the act is that it requires employers to establish and periodically update every 5 years a pay equity plan. In developing a plan, employees must, and you can go through the different details of what we need to do during this work. And update on that is that we've completed all our job descriptions and we provided and reviewed the job class data spreadsheet. And yes, that's been completed. Discussions with the port's engineering consultant, including the public walkway, land. Held briefings with the incoming general manager on various topics and organized introductions, updated mail groups with various customers to ensure incoming GM is included. Future works, I just wrote down a few things that we're going to be working on moving forward. And one of the items that we were going to discuss, I don't know if you want to. Don't know if you want to discuss it now, Mr. Chair, on the meeting in December during the report, or?
I'll bring it up.
So with that being said, that concludes my report. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Smell.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to Robert, I was just wondering, do we have any female employees out in the floor other than staff employees?
As of right now, we do not.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Cameron.
Thank you. With regards to the comment about met with the insurance broker, potential opportunities for the future, was there anything that actually came out of that was tangible or positive about the future opportunities? Cost reduction?
I think the
insurance?
opportunities has to do with looking into third-party liability on the grain and how much we want to cover versus if companies already have insurance on their grain that's at the elevator.
Okay,
So we want to take a look at that.
That's possible.
As a potential. I mean, that's all I'm saying at this point. We're going to investigate it. Sometimes you can add things into your receipts and so on that you give the producer when they drop off the grain, and it covers you off on certain liabilities. So we're just at the early stages of looking into that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody else, please? Logic Tech, you had a meeting, Mr. Daly. We had one too, when we went to Toronto, so I guess I'll touch on that on my report, so very positive one at that though. So I'll leave it at that, thanks. Moving on to 8H, Financial and Audit Service Plan. Who's gonna speak on that?
Actually, there's
Oh, I'm very sorry. I missed the incoming GM's report. I apologize deeply.
We can hold off till January if you'd wish. No, thank you. I'll keep this quick. There's no need to read through all the information. It's been kind of a whirlwind first month. I'm really continue to be super happy to be here. We've drafted an RFP for the strategic plan, and we've had a good uptake on that. That closes this Friday at 2:00 p.m. So hoping to have some good results for that, as well as the accessibility plan that's been drafted and will be circulated to staff post-harvest season for their input to ensure that we're compliant with the Canadian Accessibility Act. And I think the most important piece, obviously lots of meetings, lots of conversations. Robert's introduced me to a lot of people. But the most fulfilling piece over the past 4.5 weeks has been meeting with the staff. It's really near and dear to my heart, obviously, to have solid relationships with the frontline staff. And I can say that our group that we have here at the port is really, really solid. They are the heart and soul. There's nothing that they won't do. All hours, I can say. I've been sent pictures by the maintenance team at 10 o'clock at night under a belt, fixing a wheel bearing, no matter what it is. They really impress me. They've shared information with me about their families, their friends, and how they came to the port. And that's really been fulfilling. So I look forward to continued relations with them. They are looking forward as well to embarking on the strategic plan with us. They have been around some of the longest serving employees that we have some really great ideas from the frontline perspective. So I think we're going to start off January really fresh and fun.
Thank you very much, Miss Incoming Manager. Any questions, comments? I have one. Now I might have misread this, but I thought we had Master Feeds new lease. Was that brought up, Robert, by you? I thought you were going to give it
I-
to income.
I
income.
did mention that to in my report. That will be coming forward in the December meeting. Direct to council.
Thank you.
That's
That's
the
one.
plan anyways.
Okay, that's one that's coming on this. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, people? Okay, we're moving on. I'm sorry again. To 8H, 2020. Oh, sorry, I gotta get a mover.
Through the chair, receive and review, please.
Pardon?
Motion to receive and review the reports.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder to approve 8A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Moved by Mr. Smell and second by the mayor. Any questions, comments on it? So move. All in favor? Good. H, 2024 Financial Audit and Service Plan. Who's speaking on this?
Thank you very much. Rhonda, did you want to? No. Okay. I don't want to step. But it's not working right. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So it's that time of the year again. So we operate as a separate division, of course, of the township, and we have our separate financial accounts. And therefore, we have our own financial statements. Prior to the start of the auditor's process, a pre-audit package is to be issued to the Port Management Committee, and it details the scope and of the work and the fees involved. It's a package similar to the package we would have received as part of the township's auditing process. Auditing procedures will be changing from International Financial Reporting (IFRS) to Public Sector Accounting Standards, as we used to do here at the Port. Included is the engagement letter of audit responsibilities, objectives, scope, and limitations addressed to and signed by the Port GM for your information. So we do have a recommendation before the committee tonight, and that's that the Port Management Committee recommend that committee and council receives and approves the 2024 audit service plan presented by MNP LLP Chartered Accountants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Is there a cost here? I don't see a price. Yes, no?
Yes.
Page 29,
27,000, I believe.
yeah,
Oh, 29?
27,500.
Thank you. Oh, yes, okay. Any questions, comments on the financial audit service plan, please? Mr. McCauley, go ahead.
Through the chair, Robert, materiality, $500,000. Was it $500,000 previously? Is that unchanged?
I might ask the CAO to, if he recalls from last year. I know that it was increased last year, I believe, but I don't know to what level it was at. It was 450. I'm thinking it was 450, so I think it's gone up slightly.
Okay. Timing of the audit, they suggested it be done by March 31st. Does that meet all of our reporting requirements if we have things by March 31st?
I believe so. Good. It makes things, go ahead, Ron.
That's the timeline they put on it every year, but we typically bring it in May along with the townships for approval.
Okay, just our borrowing arrangements and potentially other arrangements require statements by such and such a date. I just want to make sure that we'll be able to meet that timing.
I believe the most important one is the Grain Commission, which is not due until July 1st, around there. So
Okay.
June 1st. So that's the important one. We have to have that in order to have our license renewed.
And then last question, there's administrative expenses are in there. Now, I didn't go back to see if that was in prior engagement letters, but it's 5% of the professional fees. If that was not in the past, that's a pricing increase that they haven't, that they've inserted. If it has been there in the past, what I would suggest to you is that you cap it. You either cap it at an amount, or what I'm worried about is it's 5% of professional fees. They say it's 27.5, but all of a sudden, well, we had to increase to 35. That becomes another pricing increase. From having experience with this specific line in the past, this is pure profit to an accounting firm. So it's not a lot of money. 5% of 27.5 is $1,375. But it's a way to manage your accounting expenses. Be careful about the insertion of administrative fees because it is pure profit to an accounting firm. So check to see if it was there before. If it wasn't there before, it's an opportunity for us to discuss a pricing increase. If it was there before, I would recommend that you, if it's 5%, that you cap it at $1,375,000, like 5% to a maximum of $1,375,000.
Thank you very much. I think that's a great point. We definitely made note of it. I know that I've had concerns over the years with our auditors, and I mean, my feelings were that we had an enormous increase when we went to IFRS. And I certainly don't see that decreasing now that we're going back by very much. We haven't shopped this out. We're staying with them as we switch back. So I do think that in the future, we do need to potentially go out and shop these prices out to see, I know there's not a lot out there that, possibly do these audits. There's a couple other companies, but I would suggest that maybe we do that next year.
Sir, if you don't mind, just send it to me later if you don't mind.
Any other questions, comments on the financial audit service plan? My only feelings of my 2 cents is there's not too many companies out there that does this kind of stuff. And it's almost like our insurance when you start to, maybe get a quote or shift, we find ourselves against a wall sometimes. So that's all I'm afraid of, same old insurance. We went through that 4 years ago, I guess, or a couple years ago, remember, and there's nothing there. So that's only my 2 cents worth. Just not a lot of competition out there that does that kind of thing, to my knowledge. Is that right, Frank? Can you help me out?
Series of accounting firms. So this M&P would be a mid-size accounting firm as opposed to what used to be the big 8. I'm not sure how many there are now at the top end. But Grant Thornton would be another example of a firm of this size. So you would get interest from 3 or 4 other firms potentially that if we went out to tender, that they would come in. Would they come in at a better price, different price? Who knows? But it's worth looking at on occasion. I did find, just to the mayor's earlier point, it's page 43 of 63.
Steve, I'll say.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say through the health unit that we've used KPMG, and I think it's Katie is who we deal with, and they do a fantastic job. I've been very impressed with the work that they've done.
Mr. CEO, thank you.
Well, sorry, one thing I'd just like to remind the group of is one of the reasons why we went to PSAS instead of IFRS is so that the same audit team can work on both the township and the port, which was a big cause of problems in prior years, is the fact that the team that was working on the port was located in Vancouver, whereas this assures that all the work is done out of Cornwall, and also they work on RSL. So because we have related interests in related entities like RSL and the port, the township would prefer to keep the audit together. And also to that end, we're not the only township that has seen an up in fees. So we are talking amongst the CAOs of the county doing a tender on behalf of everybody. And if we go down that road, we would participate in that.
Thanks very much for that, Mr. CEO. Any other questions, comments? Okay. I need a move and a seconder for the financial audit service plan. Moved by Mr. Mayor and second by Mr. Smell. Any questions, comments on it? All in favor? Carried. Number 9, approval and disbursements of the port accounts. Any questions, comments on this? Please let me know.
I do. I don't know if I have my page reference though or not. I had 2 questions. One is for diesel top up, and I meant to send this by email today just for clarification. It's on page 58 of 63 for McEwen's Petroleum in the amount of 45 cents.
Yes, they sent us an invoice. They started to top up the diesel and then realized it was full and sent us a bill. I didn't catch it in time until after I was processing it all, that I should have held on to that invoice. Normally we have 1 or 2 in a month with them. So when I posted it, I was thinking that there would have been another one. but it didn't come and it slipped through.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a couple zeros missing.
No.
Which would have been okay. And the last question, if I may, Mr. Chair, is about the continuous refill of the propane for the dryer. And so it amounts to $36,057. So that's from installation to present? Is that? Yeah.
That's correct.
Do we know how that relates back in a profit loss sense yet?
We'll relate it back to our original analysis that we presented to see how close it is, the pricing to that.
Okay. So but this is representative of the locked in price that they guaranteed us though, right?
That's correct.
Are we, I know we're talking about disbursements and approval of them. Are we near where we thought we would be?
In
Like
what,
from a usage standpoint, from a,
it's too early. It's very early. We haven't done very much.
Just, when during commissioning, we ran some soybeans through and then brought them through and run them back again. And we had some problem with some conveyors. So the corn that we dried, we brought back through. So I mean, I would say this is not the time to look to see how efficient it is right now until we can understand and get some higher volumes through it.
okay.
I would say the last 500 tons dried way better than the first 500, I guess, if that makes sense to you.
Sure.
Any other questions, comments on the approval of disbursements? So could we, Robert, or send us out an email that the committee is what we signed for with locked in? I can't remember, and I appreciate if we would have that on record, what our locked in price is. Thanks. Any other questions on the approval of the disbursements? I need a mover and a seconder to approve the disbursements. Moved by the mayor and seconded by Mr. Smell. Any questions, comments on this? All in favor? Carried. Moving on to number 10, council inquiries and notice of motions.
Don't have an inquiry, Mr. Chair, just information item for the committee, and it's December 6th, the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Foods, Minister Rob Flack will be attending the port at 9 a.m. For a 1-hour port tour. Had originally hoped that he might be able to do an agricultural roundtable. The time doesn't allow for that, so but he's coming and we'll have the minister for an hour on December 6th. So hopefully committee members or anybody relevant can attend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other council inquiries, notice motion? Pretty hard when there's only 3 of us, but anyways. Chair's report. I have a couple things. First of all, our incoming manager and our CEO and myself went to Toronto for the H2O conference. We met with Logitech, our stevedore, had a good meeting, positive meeting. We feel real comfortable of where they're going and where they want to put our Port of Johnstown. So we left like that, made some connections, other connections, and introduced our incoming manager to a few people that I know of. And this was only my second time too, so I was a little off, but we did meet I was really curious about the lady from, maybe you can help me, Mr. Incoming, with the Ontario Grain Association, Dana. Yeah, she's been all over the country promoting us. Well, all over, I shouldn't say all over the country, all over the world. United Kingdom, and she probably will be down there on December 6th, or one of her. So we had that, a real good trip to Toronto. And like I said, first time I was ever late by an hour on the train, but it was surprised it was that far behind. So that being said, I'd like to thank all of our members. This is our last meeting. We won't have a December meeting. All of our committee members for 2024 of helping us out and guiding us in the right direction. And I wish all you and your families a Merry Christmas and a great new year. So that is the chair's report. Unless anybody else wants to kick in. I need a mover and a second. No, you let me go. Question period. Any question period? Questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I just have a couple of questions. Just on the tour, we have an hour. Did we want to do sort of the presentation and then the tour? Or what were we thinking for that?
I think that's something that can be discussed
Okay.
offline.
Okay, and the invites, we just need to get that so we can get them out. Thank you. Oh, and just one other thing, now that the meeting's no longer in December, this will be my last meeting reporting as your general manager. It's been a pleasure. It's been a terrific ride, 16 years. Terrific staff, and lots of great support. And Leslie, it's a pleasure working with you, and we'll continue that moving forward, and guidance from the CEO as well. So thank you all very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Robert. Questions? None? Okay, before we close and before we go anywhere, everyone in this room, please stick around. I'd just like to say good evening to everyone and thank you for joining us as we salute Robert Daly and help him celebrate his retirement. Port of Johnstown was built in 1930 and it's withstood not just the test of time, but many other factors. Good leadership has helped to steady its course. Over the years, the port has been involved in a number of expansion projects, such as being purchased by the township. It was Cardinal in 2000 and a new wharf installed in 2016. An increase in laydown space by developing the West Uplands in 2018 for more storage space and to install additional storage bins. Most recently, the installation of a high recapture dryer system. We've been fortunate to have good partnership with the federal and provincial government and to help us accomplish such growth and good leadership from Robert to oversee these projects. Our port represents a key shipping getaway along the St. Lawrence River, and Robert has served well as a gatekeeper for many years, and we thank you for that. We're proud of the vital role the Port of Johnstown plays in supply chain, and our position in the chain has continued to grow and strengthen through the trusting relations and project expansion. We appreciate Robert's commitment to helping the local and regional economy grow over the years and improving the carbon footprints of many customers, the port itself. What a journey you have been on, Robert. We thank you and we hope your health and future plans will give you a safe passage for many more journeys ahead. Cheers, Robert, and happy retirement. So, good job. Just have to bear with me before we'll adjourn this meeting though. Before anybody goes, don't leave. So I need a move in a second to adjourn this meeting. Moved by the mayor, seconded by Mr. Smell. The meeting's adjourned at 7:25 p.m.